As I drove into Maplewood, the sun was just beginning to dip below the horizon, casting a warm golden light over the charming little town. The quaint houses, with their white picket fences and blooming gardens, looked like something out of a postcard. I could feel a flutter of excitement in my stomach. This was my new home, and I was ready to make a fresh start. Pulling up to my new workplace, the old Maplewood Elementary School, I took a moment to absorb the scene. The school had a classic red brick facade, and the sound of children's laughter floated through the air. It was a sound I had longed to hear after my last job, where the atmosphere had been anything but joyful. I stepped out of my car, took a deep breath, and smiled at the welcoming faces of the townsfolk who had gathered to greet me. "Welcome to Maplewood, Miss Thompson," called out a cheerful woman in her 50s, her hair pinned up in a neat bun. "I'm Mrs. Peterson, the town librarian. We're so glad to have you here. Thank you so much." "I'm excited to be here," I replied, shaking her hand firmly. Her warmth reassured me that I had made the right choice in taking this job. "Just wait until you meet the kids. They're a wonderful bunch," Mrs. Peterson continued, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "And don't forget to check out the old library, it's filled with stories just waiting to be discovered." As the sun started to set, I made my way inside the school. The wooden floors creaked under my feet, and the walls were adorned with colorful artwork created by the students. Each piece told a story, and I could already see the potential in my new class. I headed to my classroom, a cozy space filled with desks and bookshelves overflowing with stories. On my desk sat a large, ornate mirror, its surface clouded with dust. I frowned as I noticed it. "What a strange place for a mirror," I muttered to myself. I approached it, reaching out to wipe away the grime. As I did, a brief flicker of movement caught my eye. For a split second, I saw children playing, laughing, running, and then, nothing. The vision vanished, leaving me feeling unsettled. "Just my imagination," I reassured myself, shaking off the unease that had crept into my mind. I took a seat at my desk and began preparing for my first day of teaching. The excitement returned as I thought about the stories I'd share and the lessons I'd teach. Little did I know that the mirror would soon reveal far more than I could ever have anticipated. The next morning was bright and clear, and I was eager to meet my students. As they filed into the classroom, I was struck by their diverse personalities and vibrant energy. I introduced myself, and they responded with a mixture of shy smiles and exuberant chatter. "Hi, Miss Thompson. Are you really going to be our teacher?" a girl with pigtails asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. "Yes, I am. I'm really excited to be here with all of you," I replied, smiling warmly. "What do you like to do for fun?" "Play games," shouted a boy at the back, raising his hand enthusiastically. "And tell spooky stories." "Spooky stories, huh? I think we can definitely do that," I laughed, feeling the room fill with a sense of camaraderie. But as I scanned the classroom, I noticed a few students who were unusually quiet. They sat at the back, their gazes fixed on the mirror. "Is everything okay back there?" I asked, trying to reach out to them. "We're just looking," one of the boys murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "Looking at what?" I prompted, intrigued. "Just the mirror," another girl replied, her eyes wide and serious. "Sometimes, we see things." "Things?" I echoed, curiosity piqued but also a hint of concern creeping in. "What kind of things?" "Just things. You wouldn't understand," the boy said, his tone almost defensive. I felt a chill run down my spine at the intensity of their gaze. Brushing off the strange interaction, I continued with the lesson, but the peculiar atmosphere lingered in the air. As the morning turned to afternoon, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something deeper at play. The students' laughter felt genuine, but it was punctuated by moments of silence as they glanced at the mirror. Each time, I felt a weight pressing down on my chest. After school, I decided to clean my classroom. I figured it would help clear my mind. As I dusted the shelves, I found myself drawn back to the mirror. It was beautiful in its own right, with an elaborate frame that looked like it belonged in a different era. I took a deep breath and leaned closer, wiping away more dust to reveal its true surface. Suddenly, I was hit with a wave of emotions, joy, sadness, laughter, and loss, all swirling around me. I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to process the sensations flooding my mind. When I opened them, I gasped at what I saw. The reflection didn't just show my classroom, it revealed glimpses of children playing, their faces filled with life and joy. "Who are you?" I whispered, as if the mirror could hear me. But the images flickered, and I found myself staring back at my own confused expression. "Miss Thompson," came a voice, breaking my trance. I turned to see Mark, a fellow teacher, standing at the door. "You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I laughed nervously, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. "Just, this mirror. It's strange. I thought I saw something." Mark stepped closer, looking at the mirror with a curious expression. "Oh, that old thing. It's been here forever. Legend has it that it belonged to a family who lived in the school many years ago. They say it has some stories of its own." "Stories?" I asked, intrigued. "What do you mean?" "Some people say that if you look closely, you might see echoes of the past, moments frozen in time," he explained, his tone light but with an undercurrent of seriousness. "Just be careful. Some stories are better left untold." His words sent a shiver down my spine, and I suddenly felt the weight of the mirror's presence more than ever. "I'll keep that in mind," I replied softly, my gaze returning to the ornate glass. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than just a relic, it was a portal to something deeper. As the days passed, I found myself increasingly fascinated by the mirror and the strange behavior of my students. I watched them whisper and giggle, often glancing toward it as if it were a secret shared only among them. I tried to engage them in conversation, but each time I brought it up, they would dodge the topic, their expressions shifting between fear and excitement. One afternoon, as I was preparing for the next day's lessons, I heard soft laughter coming from the back of the room. I turned to see a group of my students huddled together, peering into the mirror with wide eyes. My heart raced, and I approached them cautiously. "What's so funny?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. "It's just, we see Clara," a girl exclaimed, her face aglow with delight. "Clara?" I repeated, my curiosity piqued. "Who is Clara?" "She's the girl in the mirror," the boy mumbled, his gaze still fixed on the glass. "She plays with us sometimes." "Yeah," another child chimed in. "She wants to be our friend." I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. "What do you mean she plays with you? How do you see her?" The group exchanged glances, and I could sense a hesitance creeping in. "It's just, she talks to us," the girl finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "Talks to you?" I pressed, feeling a mix of concern and intrigue. "What does she say?" "She tells us stories," the boy said, a hint of awe in his voice. "And we draw pictures of her. She loves to see them." "Draw pictures?" I echoed, my mind racing. "What kind of pictures?" "Pictures of her dreams," the girl replied, a smile breaking across her face. "She wants to be a great artist." As they spoke, I felt a strange pull toward the mirror. It was as if Clara was reaching out, begging to be understood. I glanced at the children, their faces lit with excitement, and realized that something profound was happening. They were connecting with this spirit, this echo of a girl whose life had been cut short. But what did that mean for all of us? "All right, everyone," I said, trying to regain my composure. "Let's talk more about Clara tomorrow. For now, let's finish our work." As I walked back to my desk, my heart raced with a mix of fear and fascination. There was a story hidden in that mirror, and I was determined to uncover it. But as I looked back at the children, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was stepping onto a path fraught with danger, a path that might lead me to uncover secrets better left undisturbed. The first few days at Maplewood Elementary had been a whirlwind of excitement and anticipation. I had imagined what it would be like to step into the classroom, to meet my students, and to share my love for learning with them. The quaint little town had charmed me from the moment I arrived, with its tree-lined streets and friendly faces. However, there was an undercurrent of unease that began to settle in my stomach as I noticed strange behaviors from some of my students. It started innocently enough. During lunch one day, I watched a group of children huddled together, whispering and giggling. They shot glances toward the back of the room, where the large, dusty mirror hung on the wall. Its frame was ornate but coated in a layer of grime that made it seem almost forbidding. I had tried to wipe it clean, but the glass remained cloudy, clouding my vision as well as the secrets it held. "Hey, what's so funny?" I asked, approaching the group. They scattered like startled birds, their laughter fading into a chorus of whispers. A girl with curly hair, who I later learned was named Mia, shot me a nervous glance. "It's nothing, Miss Thompson," she stammered, her gaze darting back to the mirror. I nodded, trying to appear nonchalant, but their behavior nagged at me. It felt as if they were sharing an inside joke that excluded me. The next day, I decided to confront it head-on. "All right, class," I said, trying to break the tension as we settled into our seats. "Let's talk about what we did yesterday." I felt like we were all having a great time, but I saw some of you looking at the mirror a lot. Is there something cool about it that I don't know? A boy named Jake, who usually sat in the front, hesitated before answering, "It's just interesting." His voice was barely above a whisper, and he avoided making eye contact with me. "Interesting how?" I pressed, my curiosity piqued. "Like, you know, it shows stuff," he muttered, his cheeks turning a shade of crimson. "Shows stuff?" I echoed, raising an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" Before he could respond, another girl, Emma, piped up, "It's just a mirror, Miss Thompson. Sometimes it looks like there are other kids in there." A shiver ran down my spine at her words. "Other kids?" I repeated, trying to sound casual but feeling a tightness in my chest. "Yeah, like kids playing or something," Emma said, her voice trembling slightly. I forced a smile, attempting to ease the tension. "Well, I guess mirrors can be a bit magical in that way, can't they?" I hoped to lighten the mood, but the unease lingered in the air. As the days passed, their strange behavior escalated. I would catch them exchanging glances, their expressions a mix of fear and excitement whenever they passed by the mirror. One afternoon, while I was grading papers, I heard a cacophony of laughter echoing down the hall. It wasn't the usual playful banter, it felt more sinister, almost haunting. Curiosity got the better of me, and I set down my red pen, making my way to the classroom. As I peered through the doorway, I saw my students gathered around the mirror, their faces illuminated with an otherworldly glow. They were pointing and making gestures, their laughter echoing eerily in the empty classroom. "What are you all doing?" I called out, stepping inside, my heart racing. The moment I entered, they all turned to me, eyes wide with surprise. "Nothing," they chorused, scattering in different directions as if I had interrupted some secret ritual. "Guys, come back," I pleaded, my voice rising in concern. "What were you looking at?" They hesitated, exchanging nervous glances before gathering back in front of the mirror. "We were just watching," Jake admitted, his voice shaky. "Watching what?" I demanded, my patience wearing thin. Mia stepped forward, her hands wringing together. "It's just, sometimes we see things in the mirror." "What kind of things?" I asked, feeling the weight of their fear pressing down on me. "Like kids," she whispered, her voice trembling. "They look like they're playing. But they're not really there." I took a deep breath, trying to process their words. "What do you mean they're not really there?" Their reflections are different, Emma chimed in. They look happy, but sometimes sad. I felt a chill run down my spine. Sad? Yeah, Jake interjected. Like they're trapped or something. Okay, I said slowly, trying to maintain my composure. Let's not jump to conclusions. It's just a mirror, right? Maybe it's just a trick of the light. But deep down, I knew that wasn't the case. Something about their collective anxiety made my skin crawl. That night, as I sat in my small apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that the mirror was more than just a piece of furniture. It was as if it held a dark history that was seeping into my classroom, influencing my students in ways I couldn't comprehend. Determined to get to the bottom of this, I decided to do a little digging. I rummaged through the records of the school and the town, trying to find any mention of the mirror or the children. I was surprised at how little information was available. It was as if the past had been swallowed whole by the present. Days turned into weeks, and the strange occurrences continued. My students' behavior grew more erratic, and I found myself increasingly concerned. They would whisper among themselves, often casting furtive glances toward the mirror, as if it were a portal to another world. One fateful evening, while grading homework in my classroom, the laughter returned. It echoed through the empty halls, chilling me to the bone. I stood up, heart racing, and made my way to the source of the sound. As I approached the classroom, I heard the unmistakable sound of children's laughter mingling with something else, soft cries, almost like a distant wailing. I pushed the door open, and my breath caught in my throat. The children were gathered around the mirror again, their faces illuminated by an unseen light, their eyes glazed over as if entranced. "What are you doing?" I shouted, but my voice felt distant, swallowed by the atmosphere in the room. They turned to me, their eyes wide and unseeing, as if they were in a trance. "They want to play," Mia said, her voice eerily calm. "Who?" I demanded. "The kids in the mirror," she replied, pointing. "They want us to join them." Before I could respond, I felt a pull, an inexplicable urge to step closer to the mirror. I shook my head, trying to clear the fog that seemed to settle around me. "No. You can't listen to them." But the children were already stepping forward, captivated by the reflections that danced within the glass. I felt panic rising in my chest, and I rushed toward them, grabbing Mia's arm. "We need to go. Now." As I pulled her away, something shifted in the mirror. The laughter turned sinister, echoing in the room, wrapping around us like a shroud. "Why are you leaving?" a voice whispered, soft yet compelling. "We just want to play." "Stop!" I shouted, my heart pounding against my ribcage. "You're not real." But the words felt hollow, as if the mirror was challenging me. I could see the reflections of the children within, their faces were twisted in joy, but their eyes held a deep sadness that pierced through me. "Ms. Thompson, look!" Jake shouted, pointing. "They're calling us." I turned to the mirror again, and for a fleeting moment, I saw them, children, laughing, playing, their faces bright and full of life. But as the image wavered, I noticed the darker shadows lurking behind them, their expressions twisted in anguish. "Please!" I cried, desperate to reach them. "You have to listen to me. They're not your friends." The children began to move closer to the mirror, and I felt a surge of adrenaline. "No. We're leaving." I pulled Mia and Jake back, but the others were already reaching out, fingers brushing against the glass. Suddenly, the mirror rippled, and I saw Clara, the little girl from the stories I had heard. Her face was filled with longing, her hands reaching out as though she were desperately trying to break free. "Help us," she cried, her voice echoing through the classroom. My heart sank as I realized that the children weren't just attracted to the mirror, they were drawn to the pain and longing of those trapped within. "We have to go." I shouted, trying to pull them back, but the pull of the mirror was too strong. "Ms. Thompson, let us go." Mia cried, her eyes pleading. No. I yelled back, my voice cracking with fear. You don't understand. They're trapped. We can't let them take you. As I fought to keep them away, I felt a cold wind sweep through the room, and the laughter turned into wails of despair. The mirror began to distort, twisting the reflections into grotesque shapes. The dim light of the Maplewood Library flickered as I stepped inside, the musty scent of aged paper and waxed wood wrapping around me like a comforting blanket. I could hardly believe that just a few days ago, I had been filled with excitement about my new job. Now, I felt a heavy weight in my chest, a mixture of curiosity and dread as I sought to uncover the school's past. The fire that had taken the lives of so many children was a shadow looming over the quaint town, a wound that had never truly healed. As I wandered through the aisles, my fingers lightly brushed the spines of books that had seen better days. Each dust-laden volume whispered secrets of the past, and I was determined to listen. My heart raced as I finally found a section dedicated to local history. I pulled out a thick, leather-bound book that looked like it had not been opened in years. Its pages crackled as I leafed through them, revealing faded photographs and newspaper clippings. Ah, the fire of '78, I murmured to myself, my finger tracing the image of a charred schoolhouse. The headline read, "Tragedy strikes Maplewood, fire claims lives of 11 children." I swallowed hard, my throat tight with emotion. "Excuse me, miss," a voice interrupted my thoughts. I turned to find an elderly man with a gentle smile, his eyes twinkling with a lifetime of memories. "You're new in town, aren't you?" "I'm Mr. Jenkins, the town historian." "Yes, I am," I replied, grateful for the distraction. "I'm Laura Thompson, the new art teacher at the school." "Ah, the old Maplewood School," he said, nodding knowingly. "It has quite the history, doesn't it? The fire, it was a terrible day for all of us. Do you know much about what happened?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Mr. Jenkins sighed, his expression shifting to one of sorrow. "I was just a boy when it happened, but the memories are as clear as day. The school was filled with laughter and joy until that fateful afternoon. I remember running through the streets when I saw the smoke rising, the fear in everyone's eyes. Those children were full of life, and then, they were gone. I felt my heart ache for the lives lost, for the stories that were never told." "What were their names?" I asked, hoping to give them a voice. 11 children, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Clara was one of them. A sweet girl, always drawing and painting. You would have loved her art, I'm sure. She had a gift. Clara, I repeated, the name rolling off my tongue like a soft melody. What was she like? Mr. Jenkins's eyes glistened as he recalled memories. Clara was a dreamer. She wanted to be a painter, to color the world with her imagination. She had a special way of seeing beauty in everything, even in the darkest of times. What happened to her? I asked, feeling the pull of Clara's story. She was trapped inside the school, he said, his voice barely a whisper. The fire spread so quickly, and the flames, they took her before she could escape. Her family was devastated, as were all the families who lost their children that day. I felt a chill run down my spine, the weight of Clara's untold story settling heavily on my heart. Is there a memorial for them? Something to remember them by? Mr. Jenkins nodded. Yes, there's a small park near the school where they planted trees in their memory. People still visit, especially on the anniversary of the fire. It's a somber reminder of what was lost. Maybe I should take my students there, I mused, already feeling a sense of responsibility toward the children who had suffered so much. They need to know the truth about what happened. Perhaps that would help them understand, he said gently. Children are resilient, but they also need to feel connected to the past. It's important to honor those who came before us. I thanked Mr. Jenkins for his insights and made my way back to the school, my mind racing with thoughts of Clara and her friends. As I approached the old building, the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the ground. The school loomed above me, its windows reflecting a golden hue, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me from within. Once inside, I made my way to my classroom, my eyes drawn to the dusty mirror that had been the source of so much unease. I stood before it, my heart pounding as I recalled Mr. Jenkins's words. Clara had been an artist, a child with dreams, and now her spirit lingered in this very room. "What were you trying to tell me?" I whispered to the mirror, half expecting an answer. I leaned closer, my breath fogging the glass, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw a flicker of movement behind my reflection, children playing, their laughter echoing in the stillness. But just as quickly as it appeared, the vision vanished, leaving me staring at my own startled expression. "Laura, are you okay?" a voice called from the doorway, breaking the spell. I turned to see Mark, my colleague, leaning against the frame with a concerned look on his face. "I'm fine," I replied, though my voice trembled slightly. "Just lost in thought." "Looks like you've been doing a lot of that lately," he said with an understanding smile. "The kids are acting strange, aren't they? It's as if they're hiding something." I nodded, recalling the way they had gathered around the mirror, whispering and laughing in a way that felt entirely unnatural. "I think it has something to do with the fire, Mark. I've been digging into the school's history, and it's more tragic than I could have ever imagined." "Tell me more," he urged, stepping into the room and closing the door behind him. I shared everything I had learned from Mr. Jenkins, the names of the children, and the story of Clara, the little artist whose dreams had been extinguished too soon. Mark listened intently, his expression growing more serious with each revelation. "We need to do something," he said finally, his voice filled with determination. "These kids deserve to know the truth. Maybe it will help them understand what they're feeling." "I agree," I said, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "But how do we approach it? It's a delicate subject." "We could organize a class project, something creative where they can express their feelings about loss and memory," Mark suggested. "Art has a way of healing." "That's a brilliant idea," I exclaimed, my heart racing at the thought. "We can tie it into their art lessons. Let them draw or paint what they feel about the past, about Clara and the others. It might help them connect." "Exactly," he said, a smile breaking across his face. "And who knows? Maybe Clara will reach out to them in some way, just like she did to you." As we discussed our plans, I felt a sense of hope rising within me. The weight of the children's stories felt a little lighter, and I could almost hear Clara's laughter echoing through the air as if she were encouraging us to move forward. We had a chance to honor the memory of those lost, to give them a voice through art. "Let's do this," I said, my resolve strengthening. "Let's help the kids remember and, in turn, allow Clara and her friends to be remembered." With newfound energy, I turned back to the mirror, staring into its depths once more. I felt a strange connection, as if Clara were watching and waiting for us to make that first step. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would lead us deep into the heart of the past and into the souls of children who longed to be seen, to be remembered, and ultimately, to be free. As I rummaged through the dusty box in the old storage room of the school, I felt an inexplicable pull towards a small, weathered diary tucked away beneath a pile of forgotten textbooks. The leather cover was cracked, and the pages inside looked fragile, but something about it resonated deeply within me. I carefully pulled it out, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and apprehension. This could be a fragment of the past, a key to understanding the haunting presence of the mirror in my classroom. Sitting cross-legged on the wooden floor, I opened the diary, and the faint scent of aged paper wafted up, carrying with it the whispers of memories long buried. The first page was adorned with a doodle, a girl with flowing hair, surrounded by flowers and butterflies. Beneath the drawing, in delicate handwriting, were the words, "Dreams are like colors, they make life beautiful." I smiled at the innocence captured in Clara's art, but as I turned the pages, the tone shifted. The entries grew darker, filled with a mixture of hope and despair. Clara wrote about her dreams of becoming a painter, of creating vibrant worlds that could escape the confines of Maplewood. But there were also mentions of fear, fear of being forgotten, fear of the flames that had taken her life, and the lives of her friends. Dear Diary, I read aloud softly, today, I painted a picture of the sky. It was the color of a summer day, bright and full of life. I wish I could paint the way I feel inside, but the shadows keep creeping in. A chill ran down my spine as I realized that Clara's shadows were not just metaphors, they were the very same shadows I felt lurking in the corners of my classroom. I could feel Clara's pain, her longing to be remembered, to be seen. It was as if the diary was a window into her soul, and I was peering into a world filled with both beauty and tragedy. As I continued reading, I stumbled upon a sketch of a group of children playing in a field, their faces lit with joy. Clara had captured their laughter, their innocence. I traced my fingers over the drawing, feeling an overwhelming sense of loss wash over me. "Why did this happen to you?" I whispered into the stillness of the room. Suddenly, a memory flickered in my mind, my own childhood, filled with laughter and dreams. I remembered the carefree days spent painting under the sun, the joy of creating something from my imagination. But I also remembered the fear that came with growing up, the fear of losing those moments, of losing the people I loved. Clara's words resonated with me, echoing my own insecurities. I closed my eyes, visualizing Clara standing beside me, her spirit intertwined with the whispers of the wind. "You're not alone, Clara," I murmured. Asterisk, I see you. I hear you. Asterisk. Flipping further through the diary, I found more sketches, each one more haunting than the last. There were images of flames, dark and swirling, consuming everything in their path. Clara's fear was palpable, and I felt it clawing at my chest. I could only imagine the terror she must have felt on that fateful day, trapped in the chaos of an inferno. I took a deep breath, steeling myself as I turned to the next page. It was a letter, addressed to no one in particular but filled with longing. "Dear whoever finds this," Clara had written, asterisk, "if you're reading this, please remember me. I want to be more than just a name in a history book. I want my dreams to live on, to dance in the colors of the world I never got to see." Asterisk. Tears welled in my eyes as I absorbed her plea. Clara wasn't just a victim of circumstance, she was a vibrant soul who had so much to offer the world. I felt compelled to honor her memory, to share her story with the students who roamed the halls of this old school, unaware of the tragedy that had unfolded within its walls. "Clara," I whispered, "I promise to remember you. I will find a way to make your dreams live on." As I continued reading, I came across a particularly powerful entry. Clara had written about her friends, children who had also lost their lives in the fire. She described their laughter, their shared dreams, and the plans they made for the future. The words poured out of her like a river, filled with both joy and sorrow. "We promised to paint the world together," she had written. Asterisk, "but now, it feels like the colors have faded. I hope they remember me, wherever they are." Asterisk. I felt a lump in my throat as I imagined the bond Clara shared with her friends, a bond that had been severed far too soon. I could almost hear their laughter echoing in the corridors of the school, a haunting reminder of the joy that once filled those spaces. Determined to honor Clara's wishes, I decided that I would not only keep her memory alive but would also help my students understand the importance of empathy and connection. They needed to know that the past was not just a distant memory, it was intertwined with their present. "Clara, you're not just a ghost in a mirror," I said softly, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "You are a part of this school, a part of every child who walks these halls. I will not let you be forgotten." I spent the rest of the evening immersed in Clara's diary, absorbing every word, every sketch, every emotion she had poured onto the pages. The sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the dusty windows, and I felt an overwhelming sense of connection to Clara and the other children who had suffered. As I closed the diary for the final time, I knew that I had to do something. I needed to create a space where Clara's story could be told, a place where her dreams could be painted back into existence. Tomorrow, I said to myself, I will bring Clara's diary to class. I will share her story with my students, and together, we'll celebrate her life. With that determination burning in my heart, I carefully placed Clara's diary back in its box, knowing that it would serve as a guiding light in my mission to connect my students with the past. As I left the storage room, I felt a sense of peace wash over me, as if Clara herself was smiling, grateful that someone had finally taken the time to see her. With the diary in my possession, I felt a responsibility growing within me, a responsibility to not only remember Clara but to ensure that her story would never fade away. The connection I felt with her was profound, and I could sense that the journey ahead would be both challenging and rewarding. As I walked back to my classroom, the weight of Clara's dreams rested on my shoulders, but I was ready. I would honor her memory, give her a voice, and in doing so, help my students find their own. The mirror may have held her captive, but I was determined to set her free through the power of art, empathy, and remembrance. The air in my classroom felt heavy with unspoken words and hidden fears as I prepared for the next day's lesson. I had been reflecting on my recent experiences with my students, particularly the odd behavior surrounding the mirror that loomed in the corner of the room. Children would often whisper to each other, their eyes darting toward that reflective glass as if it held the answers to questions they were too afraid to voice. The following morning, I stood at the front of the classroom, my heart racing with a mix of excitement and trepidation. I had decided to implement an art activity, one I hoped would allow the children to express their emotions in a safe and creative way. I glanced around the classroom, observing their faces, some eager, some hesitant, and a few with a shadow of fear lurking in their eyes. "Good morning, everyone," I called, attempting to project warmth. "Today, we're going to do something a little different. I want us to explore our feelings through art. We're going to draw our hopes and fears." A murmur of surprise rippled through the room, and I could see a few students exchanging glances. I continued, "Art is a powerful way to communicate what we might not be able to say with words. You can use colors and shapes to express yourself. There are no right or wrong ways to create your art." "I don't know how to draw," piped up Timmy, a shy boy with tousled brown hair sitting in the back. He often struggled to engage with the other kids, and I sensed his apprehension about the idea. "That's okay, Timmy," I encouraged, smiling at him. "You don't have to be an artist to express yourself. Just draw what you feel. It can be simple. Remember, this is about you and what's in your heart." As I distributed sheets of paper and colored pencils, I could feel the tension in the room begin to ease ever so slightly. I encouraged them to start by closing their eyes and thinking about what they wanted to draw. Imagine your hopes and fears in your mind. What do they look like? What colors do they have? After a moment of silence, I heard the rustle of paper and the soft scratch of pencils. The atmosphere in the classroom shifted. It was as if a barrier had begun to dissolve. I walked around, observing the children as they poured their emotions onto the paper. Some seemed lost in concentration, while others hesitated, their brows furrowed in thought. As I approached Sarah, a bright girl with curly blonde hair, I leaned over to look at her drawing. "What are you working on, Sarah?" I asked gently. "I'm drawing a big, dark cloud," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Because I'm scared of storms. They make me feel trapped." "That's really brave of you to draw that," I replied, nodding in understanding. "Sometimes, drawing what scares us can help us feel better. Can you think of something that makes you feel safe during a storm?" She paused, her pencil hovering over the page. "My dog, Max. He always stays close to me." "Then maybe you can draw him next to the cloud," I suggested, and her face brightened with a smile. "That way, you'll have something that makes you feel safe right there with your fear." As I moved on, I could see some students beginning to share their drawings with one another. The atmosphere was shifting into one of camaraderie, and I felt a sense of hope blossoming in my chest. "Laura, look!" exclaimed Mia, a young girl with bright blue eyes and a penchant for dramatics. She held up her drawing, which depicted a large, smiling sun surrounded by flowers. This is my hope. I want to have a big garden when I grow up. That's beautiful, Mia. I said, genuinely impressed. The sun looks so happy. What kind of flowers will you grow? All kinds. Roses, daisies, and even sunflowers, she beamed. Meanwhile, I noticed Timmy had begun to draw a simple stick figure standing under a giant tree. I approached him again. What's this? I asked, kneeling beside him. It's me, he said shyly. I like trees. They make me feel calm. Trees are wonderful, I agreed. They have such strength and can be really comforting. Is there a tree that you love? He nodded, his eyes lighting up. There's a big oak in my backyard. I climb it all the time. Maybe you can add some color to it, I encouraged. What color would it be? Green. And maybe some brown for the trunk, he replied, and I could see his confidence growing. As I continued to circulate around the room, I noticed a group of children gathered near the mirror, whispering to one another. My heart sank slightly. I had hoped the art activity would distract them from the strange pull the mirror seemed to have. I approached cautiously. What are you all talking about? I asked, trying to keep my tone light. Nothing, they chorused, but their eyes darted to the mirror, betraying their interest. Is it something to do with the mirror? I asked, lowering my voice. You can tell me. One of the boys, Alex, finally spoke up. We were just wondering what's behind it. Like, what if there are ghosts? I felt a chill run down my spine, but I forced a smile. Ghosts? Well, sometimes mirrors can feel spooky. But remember, they just reflect what's in front of them. It's our imagination that can make them seem scary. But what about the kids from the fire? Mia interjected, her eyes wide with curiosity. Do you think they're trapped in there? Those kids, they were really special, I said, choosing my words carefully. Their story is part of this school's history, but we shouldn't let it scare us. We can honor them by remembering them. I could see the curiosity in their faces, and I quickly decided to redirect the conversation. How about we focus on our drawings again? Let's fill this room with our hopes and dreams. What else do you want to add to your pictures? As they returned to their artwork, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. The activity was doing what I had hoped. It was creating a space where the children could express their feelings openly, even if it meant confronting the lingering shadows of fear. After a while, I called for their attention. Okay, everyone. Let's share what we've created. Who wants to go first? Mia jumped up, eager to show her garden. I want to go first, she exclaimed, holding her drawing high. This is my happy garden. The children clapped, and I could see the pride on her face as she explained her vision. One by one, they began to share their drawings, each revealing a piece of their hearts. Timmy's tree drew soft smiles, while Sarah's cloud evoked a quiet understanding. When it came time for Alex to share, he hesitated. I don't know if I should, he mumbled, glancing nervously at the mirror. Alex, your feelings are important too, I encouraged him. It's a safe space here. You can share whatever you want. He took a deep breath, his voice quivering as he began to speak. I drew a big monster because sometimes I feel like I'm fighting something that wants to scare me. Like with the mirror. Thank you for sharing that, I said gently. Sometimes, our fears can feel like monsters. But remember, we're all in this together. You're not alone. As he finished, I felt a wave of gratitude wash over me. These children were opening up in ways I had never seen before. I could see the shadows of the mirror beginning to fade, replaced by the light of their shared experiences. Just then, the bell rang, signaling the end of class. All right, everyone. Great job today. I'm so proud of all of you for sharing your feelings through your art. As the students packed their bags, I felt a sense of accomplishment. I had hoped to create a connection between the children and their emotions, and it seemed like we were on the right path. But as I glanced at the mirror, I couldn't shake the feeling that the shadows were still lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to emerge. "See you tomorrow, Miss Thompson," the children called out as they filed out of the classroom, laughter echoing in the hallway. I watched them go, a sense of hope blooming in my heart, while the mirror's reflection glimmered ominously in the dim light, a reminder that our journey was far from over. The night was thick with an unsettling silence as I sat at my desk, surrounded by the remnants of the day's lessons and the soft glow of my desk lamp. The shadows danced along the walls, whispering secrets I couldn't quite decipher. I had been poring over Clara's diary once more, feeling an odd connection to the girl whose dreams and fears I had come to understand so intimately. Each page was a window into her soul, filled with sketches of her aspirations and the weight of her sorrow. But tonight, I felt a stir in the air, a chill that crept up my spine, urging me to pay attention. I closed the diary softly, as if not to disturb the fragile world it contained, and glanced toward the mirror. Its surface, still clouded with dust, seemed to pulse with an energy of its own. I had heard the stories of the fire, the laughter of children silenced too soon, but it was Clara's essence that truly haunted me. I felt her presence, a whisper in the back of my mind, calling out to me. "Clara," I murmured, half in reverence, half in fear. "What do you want from me?" The air around me shifted, and for a brief moment, the stillness was broken by a soft giggle that echoed through the room. My heart raced as I rose from my chair and approached the mirror, my reflection wavering in the glass, obscured by the grime that had accumulated over the years. Leaning closer, I wiped away a patch of dust with my sleeve, revealing more of my reflection, but also something else, something faint and ethereal. "Laura," a voice whispered, sweet yet sorrowful, wrapping around me like a cold breeze. I stumbled back, nearly losing my balance. "Help me. Who's there?" I called out, my voice trembling. "Clara," the voice replied, clearer this time. "I'm here. I need your help." I felt my breath hitch in my throat. The stories about Clara had made her a legend in Maplewood, but standing before the mirror, I realized she was more than just a tragic figure. She was a girl, a child who had dreams and fears like the very students I taught. "What do you need?" I asked, my curiosity overpowering my fear. "I want to be free," Clara said, her voice a soft echo, filled with longing. "But I can't leave, not without you." "Without me?" I felt a strange sense of responsibility wash over me. "What can I do?" "I'm just your teacher." "Teacher," she repeated, and I could almost see her expression soften through the glass. "You understand. You listen." I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Clara, your story, it's important. You deserve to be remembered. But how can I help you?" "Remember me," she implored, her voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. "Help the others remember too. They are lost, and they need you." I felt a pang in my heart as I thought of my students and their struggles. They had their own fears, their own battles. "But I don't know how to help them remember you," I confessed. "They don't even know your story." "Tell them," Clara urged, her voice growing stronger. "Tell them about the fire, about our dreams. They can help us, Laura. They can set us free." A sudden wave of determination surged through me. I had been trying to shield my students from the pain of Clara's past, but now I understood that to truly help them, I needed to share that history. "I will," I promised. "I'll tell them. We'll remember you, Clara." "Thank you," she whispered, her voice fading as the glass began to shimmer. I reached out, touching the surface, and for a moment, I felt a warmth, as if the mirror itself was alive. But as the warmth receded, I realized that something darker was creeping in. The edges of my vision darkened, and I sensed a presence lurking behind me. I turned quickly, my heart pounding in my chest, but there was nothing there, just the stillness of the classroom and the weight of the mirror's gaze. "Laura," Clara's voice echoed again, this time more urgent. "Be careful." I felt a shiver run down my spine. "What do you mean?" "There are things here, things that don't want me to leave," she warned, her tone shifting from sweet to foreboding. "They feed on the darkness, on fear." "What do you want me to do?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Keep the light alive," she said. "You must help them remember, but don't let the darkness take you." Just then, the temperature in the room plummeted, and I could see my breath in the air, a mist that swirled like phantom tendrils. I stepped back from the mirror, heart racing, as a shadow flickered across the glass. "No. Don't go." I cried out, desperate to understand. "Clara, wait." But the darkness surged, swallowing her voice. The reflection twisted and warped, and I felt a pull, as if the mirror itself was trying to drag me in. Panic gripped me, and I stumbled away, shaking my head as if to clear the visions that clouded my mind. "Laura," a voice called from the doorway, breaking through the veil of fear. It was Mark, my colleague, standing there with concern etched across his face. "Are you okay?" I turned to him, breathless. I was just talking to Clara." "Clara," he repeated, stepping into the room. "The girl from the fire?" "Yes," I said, my voice shaky. "She needs help. She wants to be remembered, but there's something dark in the mirror, something that doesn't want her to leave." Mark's expression shifted from concern to determination. "We need to do something. We can't let this go on." "I know," I said, my heart racing. "But how?" "The students," he said, his eyes lighting up with an idea. "If they can connect with Clara and her story, maybe they can help. We need to bring them in, share her history." I nodded, feeling a surge of hope. "Yes. If they can remember her, maybe that will set her free." But then a thought struck me, and my heart sank. But what if the darkness comes for them? What if it tries to take them too? "We'll protect them," Mark assured me, stepping closer. "We can create a safe space for them to share their feelings and memories. We'll face this together." I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "Together," I echoed, grateful for his presence. "But we have to act quickly. Clara, she's counting on us." As I turned to the mirror once more, I felt a sense of urgency. Clara's voice seemed to linger in the air, pleading for release. I knew I had to share her story, to illuminate the darkness that threatened to consume her and the children who had lived in her shadow. "Tomorrow," I declared, determination flooding my veins. "Tomorrow, we'll tell them everything. We'll bring Clara back into the light." Mark nodded, resolve in his eyes. "We'll do it together." And as we stood there, facing the mirror, I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me. Clara's story would not be forgotten. Together, we would fight the darkness, and together, we would ensure that the laughter of lost children would echo once more through the halls of Maplewood School. As I sat at my desk, surrounded by the remnants of the day's lessons and the flickering glow of the setting sun outside my classroom window, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled deep within me. The shadows cast by the old oak trees stretched ominously across the floor, and the once inviting atmosphere of Maplewood Elementary felt heavy, almost suffocating. I stared at the dusty mirror hanging on the wall, its surface marred by years of neglect. It was as if it had absorbed the whispers and laughter of the children who had once filled this room, and perhaps something darker. "Hey, Laura, are you okay?" Mark's voice broke through my reverie, pulling me back to the present. He leaned against the doorframe, concern etched across his features. Mark had been a steady presence since I started teaching here, always ready with a reassuring smile or a word of encouragement. "Yeah, I'm fine," I replied, forcing a smile. "Just thinking about the kids, I suppose." "Right," he said, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. "You've been spending a lot of time with them lately. They're lucky to have you." "Thanks, Mark." I just feel like there's something more going on with them than meets the eye, I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. I can't shake the feeling that the mirror is somehow involved. Mark raised an eyebrow, intrigued. You mean the one in your classroom? The one that seems to have a life of its own? Exactly. It's like it's pulling them in, and I don't know how to stop it, I admitted, shivering at the thought of the children's strange behaviors. Their laughter echoed in my mind, a haunting reminder of the nights I had spent awake, worrying about them. You know, I've heard some stories about that mirror, Mark said, his tone serious. The town has a dark history, and the kids are probably picking up on it in some way. You should be careful. I know, I said, my heart racing. But these kids are so vulnerable. They need someone to help them understand what they're feeling. I'm just afraid that if I don't intervene, something terrible will happen. Mark placed a hand on my shoulder, his grip warm and reassuring. You're doing your best, Laura. Just remember that you can't save everyone. As I watched him leave, I felt the weight of his words settle heavily on my chest. I knew I had to confront this situation, not just for the children but for Clara and the other souls trapped in the mirror. It was time to make a decision. Later that evening, I found myself alone in my classroom, the moonlight spilling through the window and illuminating the dust particles that danced in the air. My gaze drifted once more to the mirror, and I could almost hear it calling to me, drawing me closer. Taking a deep breath, I stood up and approached the glass, my heart pounding in my chest. Clara, I whispered, feeling a surge of emotion. I want to help you. I want to help all of you. For a moment, there was silence, and then, as if in response, I felt a chill in the air. The reflection began to shimmer, and I caught a glimpse of the children, their faces twisted in anguish, their eyes pleading for release. I recoiled, my heart racing as I realized the depth of their suffering. Why won't you let go? I cried out, my voice breaking. What holds you here? I could feel their sorrow, their longing for life, and it made my heart ache. I thought of my own fears, the fear of losing my students, the fear of failure, the fear of being forgotten. Was this what trapped them? A desire to hold on to what was lost, to cling to the memories that haunted them? Suddenly, I heard a soft voice, barely audible above the silence. We don't want to be forgotten. I spun around, but the classroom was empty. Who's there? I called, my heart racing. It's us, the voice replied, echoing from the depths of the mirror. We're afraid. I stepped closer, my breath hitching in my throat. Afraid of what? Of being lost, the voice said, and I recognized it as Clara's. We're scared that if we let go, no one will remember us. Tears filled my eyes as I understood the weight of their pain. But holding on isn't the answer. You're trapped, all of you are trapped in this mirror. You deserve to be free, to live on in the hearts of those who loved you. Will you remember us? Clara asked, her voice trembling. Yes, I promised, my heart swelling with determination. I will remember you. I will tell your story, and I will make sure the world knows who you were. A heavy silence followed, and I could feel the tension in the air. I was standing at a crossroads, faced with a choice that bore heavy consequences. Should I help these souls find peace, or was there something deeper at play? I felt the weight of responsibility on my shoulders, and I knew that my decision would shape not only my fate but the fate of these children. As I wrestled with my thoughts, Mark's earlier words replayed in my mind. You can't save everyone. But what if saving them meant allowing them to be remembered? What if that was the true liberation they sought? We need you, Clara's voice came again, stronger this time. We need you to help us find peace. My heart raced at the gravity of her words. I will help you, Clara. But you need to trust me. You have to let go of your fear. A soft breeze rustled through the classroom, and the mirror began to pulse with an otherworldly light. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my own fears pushing against my chest. If I'm going to do this, I have to confront my own fears too, I murmured to myself, steeling my resolve. With a newfound sense of purpose, I turned back to the mirror. Clara, I want to help you. But I need to understand what you're feeling. Can you show me? The air crackled with energy, and suddenly, I was engulfed in a vision. I found myself standing in a charred schoolyard, surrounded by the echoes of laughter that had turned to screams. I saw Clara and her friends, vibrant and full of life, their faces alight with joy as they played together. But then, darkness descended, flames engulfed the building, and I felt the panic and despair wash over me. No! I cried out as I watched the scene unfold, my heart breaking for these children who had their lives cut short. Clara, I understand now. You're afraid of being forgotten, of not being seen. But you don't have to be trapped anymore. You can live on in the memories of those who loved you. The vision faded, and I stumbled back, breathless. I felt a connection to Clara stronger than ever before. I promise, I will tell your story, I vowed. Thank you, Clara replied, her voice filled with a mix of hope and sorrow. But you must confront your own fears first. My heart raced as I realized what that meant. I had to confront the darkness within myself, the fear of loss, of not being enough, of failing those I cared about. I'm scared, Clara. What if I can't do this? Everyone is scared, she said gently. But you are stronger than you think. You have the power to help us, to help yourself. With tears streaming down my face, I nodded. Okay. I will do it. For you, for the others. I won't let fear control me. As I stood before the mirror, I felt a surge of energy flow through me. The reflection began to shift, and I could see the faces of the children, their smiles, their laughter, their dreams. I absorbed their essence, embracing their stories, their hopes, and their fears. I will remember you, I repeated, each word a promise. You will not be forgotten. And in that moment, I knew I had made my choice. I would confront the darkness, not just for them but for myself. I would help Clara and the other souls find peace, and in doing so, I would also free myself from my own fears. As I stepped back from the mirror, I felt a sense of clarity wash over me. I had a purpose now, a mission to bridge the worlds of the living and the lost. I would honor Clara, and through her, I would honor all the children who had suffered. I would not let their stories fade into silence. The mirror pulsed one last time, and I felt a warmth envelop me, as if the spirits were embracing my resolve. Thank you, Clara whispered, her voice a gentle breeze. We'll be waiting. With that, I turned away from the mirror, ready to face whatever came next, knowing that I wouldn't be alone. I had made a promise, to Clara, to my students, and to myself. Together, we would find a way to heal. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a golden glow across my classroom, I felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Today was the day I had decided to hold our last art activity, a culmination of everything we had worked on together during the past few weeks. The air was thick with unspoken emotions, and I could sense the weight of the moment pressing down on all of us, especially the children. They were on the brink of something profound, and I hoped to guide them gently through it. I arranged the desks in a large circle, allowing space for creativity to flow and for everyone to see each other. The once pristine whiteboard was now adorned with colorful drawings and scribbles from previous lessons, a testament to our journey together. I turned to the class, taking a deep breath to steady my nerves. All right, everyone, I said, my voice carrying a blend of warmth and authority. Today, we're going to create something special. I want each of you to draw what you feel, your hopes, your fears, anything that comes to your mind. But this time, I want you to think about Clara and the other children. How do you think they felt? What do you think they want to say to the world? The room fell silent as the children processed my words. I could see their little brows furrowed in concentration, and it tugged at my heart. I walked around the room, observing their expressions, searching for a glimmer of connection to the spirits that had haunted us for so long. "Can we draw, Clara?" whispered Lily, her voice soft yet filled with curiosity. "Of course, Lily," I replied, kneeling beside her. "You can draw Clara or anything that represents your feelings about her. This is a safe space for all your thoughts." With that, I handed out sheets of paper and colored pencils, the vibrant colors contrasting sharply with the cold, gray history of the mirror that loomed in the corner of the room. As the students began to draw, I could feel the energy shift. It was as if the room had transformed into a sanctuary where the past and present could coexist, and I hoped it would provide a bridge for the children to connect with the lost souls. "Miss Thompson," called out Jason, his voice filled with excitement. "I'm drawing Clara painting. I think she'd love that." I smiled at his enthusiasm. "That's beautiful, Jason. What colors are you using?" "I'm using all the colors." "Clara loved colors, right?" he beamed, his small hands moving feverishly over the page. "That's right. She did love colors. Just like you," I encouraged, feeling a swell of pride for my students. As each child became engrossed in their artwork, I wandered among them, peering over shoulders and admiring their unique interpretations. I saw a mixture of emotions on their faces: joy, sadness, fear, and hope. It was a beautiful chaos that reminded me of the complexities of childhood. "Miss Thompson," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper as she tore her gaze from her drawing. "What if the mirror is broken? Can Clara still be free?" I paused, considering her question. "I believe that Clara and the other children can be free in our hearts, Emma. We can remember them, tell their stories, and share their dreams. That's a kind of freedom too." The room fell silent again, each child lost in their thoughts. I could feel the heaviness of their emotions wrapping around us like a thick blanket. I returned to my desk, gathering my own materials, wanting to participate in this shared experience. I took a deep breath and began to sketch. As I drew, I felt a surge of emotions flood through me, memories of my own childhood, the fears I had faced, the dreams I had chased. I could see Clara's spirit in my mind's eye, a girl bursting with creativity and longing. My pencil glided across the paper, capturing the essence of a girl who once dreamed of painting the world with her colors. "Miss Thompson, what are you drawing?" asked Malik, his voice breaking the silence. "I'm drawing Clara," I replied, glancing up at him. "I want to remember her in a way that honors her spirit." "That's cool. I want to draw her flying, like a superhero," Malik exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with inspiration. "Great idea. Clara would love that," I encouraged, feeling a wave of warmth wash over me. His creativity ignited a spark in the room, and soon other children joined in, depicting Clara in various fantastical forms, dancing, laughing, painting, and even flying. As the minutes passed, I noticed the atmosphere in the classroom transforming. The once heavy air felt lighter, infused with the laughter and chatter of children sharing their thoughts and ideas. They weren't just drawing, they were connecting, sharing pieces of themselves with one another and, inadvertently, with Clara. "Can I add a rainbow?" asked Sophia, her hand shooting up eagerly. "Absolutely. A rainbow would be perfect," I replied, smiling at her enthusiasm. Rainbows are symbols of hope and beauty. The classroom buzzed with excitement, and I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me. I could see that the children were not just drawing for themselves, they were also drawing for Clara. It was a beautiful gift of remembrance, a way to honor her and the other lost children who had once filled this space with laughter. After a while, I called for their attention. "All right, everyone, I'd like to gather your drawings together. Let's create a mural on the wall to celebrate Clara and the other children." A collective cheer erupted as they eagerly pinned their drawings to the wall, each piece representing a facet of Clara's spirit and the emotions they had shared. I stepped back, taking in the colorful collage that now adorned the classroom. "Look at all of this," I marveled, my heart swelling with emotion. This is a tribute to Clara and to all the children we've come to know. It's a reminder that they are always with us, in our hearts. Can we add more things? Jason asked, his eyes wide with excitement. Like flowers and stars? Of course. Let's make it as colorful and vibrant as possible. Clara would want that. I affirmed, feeling the energy in the room reach a new high. As they added more details to the mural, I felt a sense of unity among the students. They were no longer just individuals, they were a collective force, channeling their emotions into something beautiful and meaningful. It was as if the weight of the past was slowly lifting, allowing space for healing and remembrance. Miss Thompson, Emma said, her voice trembling slightly. Do you think Clara is happy? I paused, considering her question carefully. I believe she is. We're remembering her, and that's a powerful thing. We're giving her a voice and a place in our hearts. She may not be here with us in the physical sense, but she lives on in our memories and art. A hush fell over the room as the children absorbed my words. Their eyes, filled with understanding and compassion, spoke volumes about their connection to Clara and the other children. It was a moment of profound realization, not just for them, but for me as well. As the activity drew to a close, I gathered the children around the mural. Thank you all for sharing your hearts today. What we've created is a beautiful testament to friendship, love, and remembrance. Whenever we look at this mural, we'll remember Clara and the joy she brought into this world. The children nodded, their faces glowing with pride. As I glanced at the mural again, I felt a sense of hope blooming within me. The past may have been filled with pain, but in that moment, I knew we had created something that transcended it, a bridge between our world and the world of those we had lost. As the final touches were added and the laughter echoed in the room, I realized that we were all connected, bound together by our shared experiences and emotions. Clara's spirit, once trapped in sorrow, was now free, living on in the hearts and art of the children who had chosen to remember her. The classroom was unusually quiet that afternoon, a stark contrast to the chaos that had consumed it in the weeks prior. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows across the worn wooden floors and illuminating the dust motes that floated lazily in the air. I felt an unsettling tension in my chest as I stood before the old, ornate mirror that had become the focal point of my unease. I could hear the faint whispers of the children as they worked on their artwork, but their giggles and laughter felt distant, almost like echoes from another world. The mirror, with its intricate frame and dusty surface, seemed to pulse with an energy I couldn't quite comprehend. It was as if it had a life of its own, drawing me in, urging me to confront the darkness hidden within its depths. Taking a deep breath, I stepped closer to the mirror, my heart racing. Clara, I whispered, feeling the weight of her name on my lips. I need you to listen to me. The air around me felt heavy, charged with an electric tension, and I could sense the presence of the children behind me, their eyes glued to the mirror, their faces a mix of curiosity and fear. Ms. Thompson, are you okay? A voice broke through my reverie. It was Sam, a boy with tousled hair and freckles splattered across his nose. He stood a few steps away, clutching a crumpled piece of paper filled with sketches. Concern flickered in his blue eyes, and I realized the other children had also gathered, their curious expressions mirroring his. I'm fine, Sam, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. Just thinking about the project we did last week. I motioned to the drawings they had created, colorful depictions of their fears and hopes. You all really opened up during that activity. I'm proud of you. Did you see Clara? Another child piped up, her voice barely above a whisper. It was Mia, a girl with dark curls and a penchant for drawing hauntingly beautiful pictures of landscapes. I think she's still here, in the mirror. I felt a chill run down my spine as I turned back to the glass. The reflections of the children danced alongside my own, but for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw something else, shadows darting just beyond the surface, faces of children long gone. Clara, I called again, my voice stronger this time. If you can hear me, I want to help you. We want to help you. There was a moment of silence, thick and suffocating. The air felt charged with anticipation. Then, the mirror rippled as if a stone had been thrown into still water, and I staggered back, my heart pounding. The children gasped, their eyes wide with fear and fascination. "Ms. Thompson, what's happening?" Sam exclaimed, his small hands gripping the edge of his desk as if it were a lifeline. I swallowed hard, trying to maintain my composure. "It's okay, everyone. Just stay calm." My voice was steady, but inside, I felt anything but. The reflections in the mirror began to shift, the faces of the children who had perished in the fire emerging from the depths. Clara's face was among them, her eyes wide with an unfulfilled longing. "Laura," a voice echoed softly, barely a whisper, but it resonated deep within my heart. Clara's voice. "Help us, Clara, I'm here," I said, feeling the weight of her sorrow pull me closer. "I understand that you're trapped, but you don't have to be. You can let go. You can be free." "Free," Clara repeated, her expression a mix of hope and despair. "But what if I forget?" "Forget?" I echoed, my mind racing. "Clara, you won't forget. We'll remember you. We'll remember all of you." I glanced back at the children, their faces reflecting a mixture of fear and determination. "We can create something beautiful to honor you. Something that keeps your memory alive." The mirror shimmered again, and I could see the other children, faces I recognized from my research, each one filled with a sadness that spoke of lost potential and unfulfilled dreams. "We want to play," another voice chimed in, a boy with curly hair and a bright smile that had been lost to tragedy. "We want to be seen." I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes as I realized what they were asking. "You want to be remembered," I said softly. "And I will make sure you are. I promise. Please, help us." Clara's voice grew more insistent, her reflection shimmering with desperation. "We can't stay here. We want to go home." My heart ached for them, for the children who had been trapped in this limbo for so long. "I'll help you, but you have to trust me," I said firmly. "You have to believe that letting go is the way to find peace." The whispers in the room grew louder, a cacophony of emotions swirling around us. I could see the other children in the mirror, their expressions shifting from fear to hope, as if they were beginning to understand. "You have to believe in the love that surrounds you," I continued, my voice rising above the noise. "And you have to remember that love doesn't fade. It transforms." Suddenly, the air grew thick with tension, and I felt a pull, a force drawing me toward the mirror. "Laura!" Sam shouted, his voice breaking through the din, "Don't go in there." "I won't." I shouted back, fighting against the sensation that threatened to overwhelm me. "I'm here for you. All of you." Clara's face twisted with confusion and anguish. "What if we're lost forever?" she pleaded, tears glistening in her eyes. "What if we can't find our way back?" "You're not lost," I cried, my heart racing. "You have to trust that you are loved. You have to trust me." The energy in the room crackled, and I felt a surge of emotion swell within me. "Together, we can find a way." As I reached out toward the mirror, the reflections began to distort, the children's faces warping into expressions of fear and desperation. I could feel their pain, their longing to be free, and it tore at my heart. "No!" I shouted, stepping back. "You are not alone. You have each other. You have me. Help us." Clara cried again, her voice rising above the chaos. "Please." I felt the tears streaming down my face, and I wiped them away, trying to focus. "Clara, listen to me," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil. "You have to let go of the fear. You have to allow yourself to remember the love, not just the pain. You are not alone. You are never alone." The mirror rippled violently, and for a moment, I was terrified that I would be swallowed by the darkness. I could see the children's faces contorting with anguish, the shadows closing in around them. "You don't have to be afraid," I shouted, my heart racing. "You are loved. You are remembered." In that moment, I felt a wave of warmth wash over me, a surge of energy that pulsed through my veins. "Remember the joy, Clara. Remember the laughter. Remember the dreams you had," I implored, reaching out toward the mirror, my fingers grazing the cool surface. "You can be free." The reflections began to shimmer, the shadows swirling and writhing as if they were alive. Clara's face emerged again, this time a glimmer of hope shining in her eyes. "We can be free?" she asked, her voice a fragile whisper. "Yes," I shouted, my heart pounding in my chest. "You can. You must choose love over fear. You must choose to let go." The energy around me intensified, and I felt the children's presence surrounding me, their hopes and dreams intertwining with my own. "We are here," they echoed, their voices merging into a beautiful chorus that filled the room. "We are here." But just as I thought we had turned a corner, the mirror darkened, and a cold gust of wind swept through the classroom, knocking over art supplies and sending papers flying. The shadows writhed and twisted, and I felt the fear creeping back in. "No. You can't let it take you," I yelled, my heart racing. The children's faces flickered in the glass, fear etched into their features. I stepped forward, fighting against the pull of despair. "Clara, you must remember who you are. You are brave. You are strong." I could feel the energy shifting again, the shadows closing in, threatening to swallow us whole. "You have to trust me," I cried, desperation lacing my voice. "Laura," Clara's voice trembled, her image flickering. "What if we can't find our way? Then let me help you remember," I pleaded, reaching out to the mirror with both hands, feeling the cold surface against my skin. "We'll find a way together. You are not alone." The mirror rippled violently, and I sensed a moment of clarity amidst the chaos. "Clara, you are loved. You have to believe in that love," I shouted, pouring every ounce of emotion I had into my words. The air crackled with energy, and for a brief instant, I felt the warmth of their memories flooding over me, the laughter, the joy, the dreams they had shared. "You can do this. You can be free." I stood in front of the mirror, its surface shimmering ominously in the dim light of the classroom. The air was thick with tension as I felt the weight of the children's eyes on me, their expressions a mix of curiosity and fear. The whispers that had haunted the classroom for days echoed in my mind. I could feel Clara's presence, stronger than ever, pulling at my heartstrings. I had to confront her, to confront the truth that lay not just within the glass but within myself. "Clara," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "I know you're there. I know you're scared. But you don't have to be. We can help each other." My heart raced as I stepped closer. The surface of the mirror rippled like water, distorting the reflections of the children behind me. I could see their faces, etched with concern, as they watched me battle with the unknown. I turned to them, my voice steady yet filled with emotion. "You all see her too, don't you? Clara and the others, they're trapped, just like you feel sometimes." A soft murmur of agreement came from the group, and I could see the flicker of recognition in their eyes. They understood. They felt the weight of their own fears and insecurities. It was as if we were all standing on the precipice of something monumental, and I needed to lead them across the chasm. "Clara, I know you're afraid of being forgotten," I continued, my voice rising with intensity. "But you don't have to hold on to this pain. You can be free. We can remember you, honor you, without being trapped in this mirror." I glanced back at the glass, willing her to hear me, to understand. But the reflection twisted, and I saw the faces of the children who had been lost in the fire, frightened, confused, yearning for something they couldn't quite grasp. I felt a pang of sorrow for them, for Clara, for the pain that had bound them to this realm. Please, let us help you. I cried out, desperation creeping into my voice. Let us remember you in a way that keeps your spirit alive without this weight. Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness, and the only light came from the mirror, illuminating Clara's face, her expression a mix of anguish and longing. Laura, she whispered, her voice a haunting melody that wrapped around me like a shroud. I don't want to be forgotten, but I'm so scared to leave. I stepped forward, my heart racing. You won't be forgotten, Clara. None of you will. We will paint your story, tell it through our art, and celebrate your lives. I could feel the energy shifting, the air crackling with the weight of my words. But you have to let go. You have to trust us. Clara's reflection trembled, and I saw the flicker of hope in her eyes. What if I'm not ready? She asked, her voice a fragile whisper. How can you be ready if you're still holding on to this pain? I replied, feeling the tears prick at my eyes. You've suffered enough. It's time to find peace. It's time to live on in the memories of those who love you. As I spoke, I could hear the children behind me, their voices rising in a chorus of support. We remember you, Clara, one of them shouted, stepping forward. It was Lily, a small girl with bright blue eyes that sparkled with determination. You're our friend. We want to help you. The reflection of Clara's face softened, and I could see the flickers of the other children appearing beside her, smiling, reaching out, as if they were trying to pull her back from the edge of despair. You're not alone, Clara, another child said, their voice filled with warmth. You're part of our family now. We'll carry you with us. I felt a surge of emotion wash over me as I watched the connection form between Clara and the children. It was as if their collective hope was weaving a tapestry of light that began to envelop the mirror, illuminating the darkness that had clung to it for so long. Remember us, Clara murmured, her voice barely audible as the light grew brighter. Promise me you'll remember. We will. I shouted, my heart swelling with purpose. We promise, Clara. We'll paint your story. We'll make sure everyone knows how beautiful you were, how full of life you still are. And then, in that moment, everything shifted. The mirror pulsed with energy, and I could see the reflection of the classroom behind me, vibrant and alive. Let us remember you, I urged, my voice a soft plea. Let us transform the pain into something beautiful. Let us honor you in a way that sets you free. As I spoke those words, Clara smiled, a radiant, hopeful smile that pierced through the darkness that had enveloped her for so long. I could feel the air shifting, the heaviness lifting as the colors of the children's drawings began to swirl around the mirror's surface. In a heartbeat, the glass shimmered, and I realized the truth. Clara and the other children were not mere reflections of lost souls, they were the embodiment of the fears and dreams of every child who had ever walked through this school. They were a part of us, and we were a part of them. The mirror began to crack, light bursting forth in a brilliant explosion of color and sound. We remember you, the children cried out, their voices rising in unison. You are not alone. With a final surge of energy, the mirror shattered into a million beautiful shards that floated through the air like fireflies, each piece glimmering with the memories of Clara and her friends. I felt a rush of warmth envelop me, and I closed my eyes, surrendering to the moment. When I opened them again, the classroom was filled with light, and the children were laughing, their faces aglow with joy. Clara's presence lingered in the air, a gentle whisper of gratitude, and I felt a profound sense of peace wash over me. Thank you, I whispered, my voice trembling with emotion. Thank you for trusting us. I turned to the kids, who were now buzzing with excitement, their fears washed away. Let's create something beautiful together, shall we? Let's paint our memories and keep Clara's spirit alive. And as we gathered our art supplies, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. We would honor Clara and the other children through our creativity, telling their stories through our drawings and paintings. Each stroke of the brush would be a testament to their lives, a celebration of their dreams. In that moment, I knew I had not only freed Clara but had also faced my own fears, the fear of loss, the fear of forgetting, and the fear of being forgotten. Together, we would create a legacy of love, ensuring that their memories would forever shine brightly in our hearts. As we began to paint, laughter filled the air, and the shadows that had once loomed over our classroom faded into the background. The spirits of the children were free, and in their release, we found our own healing. Clara was no longer trapped in the mirror, she was alive in our hearts, a vibrant part of our story. And as I watched the children create, I realized that the true magic of Maplewood lay not in the haunted mirror but in the connections we forged, the memories we shared, and the love that bound us together. We would carry Clara with us, not as a ghost of the past, but as a radiant spirit that would inspire us to live fully and fearlessly. Let's make this the best art class ever! I exclaimed, my heart swelling with joy. The children cheered, and I knew in that moment that we had transformed not only our classroom but our very lives. Together, we would keep Clara's memory alive, no longer a prisoner of pain, but a beacon of hope guiding us forward.